How are you, Justice Warriors? So lovely to see you here tonight on a Sunday night. I've got my mic plugged in. I think my lighting looks a little bit bizarre, but just gonna roll with it. I'm gonna try to stay over to the side so that you can see that amazing chakra tower that I just treasure. Um, I'm sorry I haven't been on in a couple of days. I missed you guys. Obviously, you've missed me too because you're not even here. You're ignoring me and pretending that you don't know that I'm doing a surprise live with 5 minutes notice. That's cool. I hope some people come in, but I'm just going to go ahead and get started. Oh man, I've been working my tail off with my yoga thing. I'm going to be posting that probably on my for members only, just like I was saying the other day, so that it doesn't circulate like regular stuff, because I don't think that many people are interested in the yoga. And if you are, let me know. That's kind of a different form than true crime, obviously. But there are a lot of us who love true crime and love yoga, and why not mix them? They're both Annie Ruler. What's up, girlfriend? Hey, I've been wondering. I don't know if you can explain to me in the chat, if you don't mind. The other day, when you were saying about Kate Middleton and her cancer, were you asking me not to discuss it because you thought it was disrespectful, or were you saying something else? Because either way, I want to honor what it was that you were saying, but I really wasn't clear. So if you want to let me know, that's cool. If you don't, that's cool too. If you're too busy to type or just don't feel like it. I have in front of me a printout of an old article from the Amanda Knox case. Oh man, I hope I didn't mess it up, the order of the pages. I wanted to share it with you, and I want to be totally clear that I got the idea for sharing it from True Crime Rocket Science. He has done so much great coverage of Amanda Knox for years and years, and he did one a couple of days ago that really had me inspired, as did Roberta Glass. Is that her name? I think it's Roberta Glass. She's done a lot of coverage of Amanda Knox too. Anyway, this is an old article from like 11, 12, maybe, yeah, about 12 years ago, I think, that really gives the perspective of Patrick. And if I can say his name, I kind of fumble it every single time, but luckily I'm not the only one. So Patrick, the Congolese man that she implicated, who then she was just recently had the conviction upheld. I was saying MSN is trying to make us not question away the alleged affair. Child goodness, we will never see her again, in my opinion. Oh, I'm relieved, Annie, because I didn't want to be offensive to you or to anyone. I mean, cancer is nothing to mess around with, obviously. But that's exactly what I feel like, is that, I think in the last couple of days, the British Empire has come out with a message from Kate, allegedly, that just seems like the biggest joke in the world. It's like her apologizing for having cancer and not being able to be there for the people. Like, if you have cancer, why in the world would you apologize? Like, it just seems so freaking bogus. And yeah, the alleged affair, and why can I never remember his name? Thomas, the guy who in his 40s who had dated Pippa. He dated Pippa, the guy who allegedly unalived himself in February. And if you want to type his name into the chat, that would be great if you feel like it. Anyway, let me do my quick disclaimer. Everything I say is simply my opinion. Even when I'm reading off of paper, it's still my opinion because it's coming out of my mouth, and I might be putting my own words in there, but I try to read it pretty specifically. Her treatment, timing, surgery, Samir date, same date as Charles. Yeah, exactly. Poppycock. Annie, you're always on it. So yeah, I wasn't sure and I just wanted to check. So thank you so much for the clarity. And I'm just glad that we're on the same page because I feel like you and I are pretty much always on the same page. I don't know that I've ever had an opinion that was different than yours. Is that scary or what? Um, anyway, I'll finish up with my disclaimer. Everything I say is simply my opinion for the sake of trying to start a conversation, open up a discussion. I welcome other ideas and opinions. I mean, that's part of what creates a great discussion and opportunity to learn from each other because there are so many different perspectives. And all my videos to date have been made for YouTube. It's an entertainment platform. And I'm just trying to figure out the best way to be in my frame and really allow that chakra tower to do its magic on my viewers and me and align us all as we sit here and speak of true crime. So let me see about this situation I have here with this article. Lying liars. Amanda Knox. Pretty much, if she's talking, you know she's lying, right? Or if she's texting, you know she's lying. I'd say the same thing with JP in Micah Miller's case. Such a heartbreaking case. We'll talk about that for sure. I'd say the same thing with Scammy in Kylie Rodney's case. Brian Laundrie in the Gabby Petito case. And Chris Watts and NK in the Watts case. When these people have lost their credibility, which all those people I named have zero credibility, how can we believe or rely on anything they say at all? Because we know that they have no problem skewing the truth and reality. And it's so sad because the truth is pretty much all you have. And if you don't have that, you ain't got nothing. So, I mean, really, of course, we know from the outside looking in that they're hurting themselves. But when they are hurting another person and other people, and the ripple effect is just huge, absolutely huge. And these families that are trying to get justice, they're never going to get their person back. That's going to remain as sad and tragic as ever. But a little bit of justice goes a long way, especially when there's been no justice or when there's been just a smidge of a semblance of justice. And anyway, let's get right into this stuff with Amanda Knox, because I think it's important to understand, especially because she's not going to stop. She's going to continue with her podcast and her preaching and talking. I mean, when that girl talks, she is nauseating. Out of all the people that I just name dropped, she's probably the hardest for me to listen to because she's so cocky, she's so smug, she's such a liar, and she just has that word salad with all the buzzwords. And she's just like, as many buzzwords as I throw into my word salad, it'll confuse everybody into making me sound smart. And no, it doesn't. Like, I mean, she really doesn't make sense. She's really not saying anything when she speaks. Oh, and she was so upset that she lost the case. And thank goodness she lost the case. Thank goodness. So let's see. These are numbered, so that's going to help me. I'm not going to read the entire article because it's pretty long. I highlighted some parts that I thought were that piqued my interest. Let me drink a little water. Yeah, the whole thing with Kate Middleton, I'm becoming more and more suspicious that she was you know me, I like to just be blunt, that she was a victim of domestic violence, that things got heated over the holidays, and on December 28th that something horrible and possibly fatal happened. That's my thought, that if it did, the world will never know. It'll never come out. But at the same time, you never know. So there's always hope. Keep hope alive, right? So we're going to start reading this. This is Patrick Lumumba, if I'm saying his name right, and I apologize if I'm not. And let's see. I think the website, and I'll put a link to it in my description, that I printed this from is Standard Company UK. So I think I have the page that has the person's name who wrote the article. I always like to give credit where credit is due. And yeah, it's called The Standard. And maybe it doesn't have the person's name on it. That's unfortunate. Patrick Lumumba. I'm pretty sure I'm saying it right. And yeah, the name will be in the description probably, but it's not here in front of me on the printout, unfortunately. So Patrick Lumumba owned Le Chic. Le Chic was a club where Amanda Knox worked. So this, to me, this information, some of it was brand new to me and extremely insightful. And it's mostly Patrick's words in this interview from about 12 years ago. So he's talking about Amanda Knox, and he says she was angry I was firing her and wanted revenge. He says, by the end, she hated me, but I don't even think she's evil. To be evil, you have to have a soul. Amanda doesn't. She's empty, dead inside. She's the ultimate actress, able to switch her emotions on and off in an instant. I don't believe a word she says. Everything that comes out of her mouth is a lie, but those lies have stained me forever. She tried to play the race card. She thought by pointing the finger at a black person, she'd distract attention from herself. She used me as a scapegoat. I've never had so much as a fine for not paying a bus ticket before, but now I've been branded a cold-blooded murderer. Knox is in custody, and this isn't his words, this is the author of the article. Knox is in custody on suspicion of red rumming Meredith, along with her Italian boyfriend, computer science student Raffaella Solicio, 24, and police have arrested Rudy Goudet, 20, who has joint Italian and Ivory Coast nationality and was found on the run in Germany. Look at you after a year or so. I guess, OL, your corner has gotten bigger, but yet still not saying anything worth listening to. Oh, thank you so much. Why would you want to come in and just be a jerk? Should I say hi, NK, or hi, Amanda? Whoever you are, I think I'll just put you in a timeout, and you've been warned. And if you want to be a jerk again, then you can just go away. But yeah, if you don't think what I'm saying is interesting, that's fine that you don't think it's interesting. I think it's interesting, and I think some people find it interesting. And I'm just going to keep on doing what I do because I'm doing it for me. I mean, I'm doing it for anybody who is getting something out of it. And really, honestly, I think I'm even doing it for trolls that don't get anything out of it, because hopefully somebody will learn something somehow. Ha ha ha. Not an Amanda Knox or royalty person. Yeah. Bo Evans. I've never seen that name. So anyway, I'm sure they can still watch and they can still type their snarky comments, but nothing will show up until 30 minutes from now, just so you know that's how long the timeout is. I like to give people opportunities to pull themselves together, and really, I'm not offended at all because, of course, I'm not going to be everybody's cup of tea. But yeah, I do have a cool studio now, which I didn't have until just a few months ago. And I'm ever so grateful. It's been rough fighting for my corner in my house because everybody wanted the room when the one kid moved out. And we're crowded. We have 5 of us living here. We have 5 pets. Yeah, we had 6, but one of our dogs passed away a year ago. Then another one of our dogs is fighting cancer. So pray for Coco. because that's, I think, gonna make her get better. I do believe in that. Anyway, and talking about Kate Middleton's cancer, it's like anybody who has fought cancer, like prayer is extremely powerful, as is chemotherapy, surgery, acupuncture, healthy eating, yoga. I mean, everything makes a difference. We have to take care of ourselves, cancer or no cancer. And anyway, part of taking care of ourselves is having boundaries with people when they're being impolite. So thanks, Bo. Have a good evening. If you try to come back and be mean, I'll just block you. If you want to come back and not be mean, then that's fine too. On with the show. Let's see. Where were we? About Rudy Goudet. Her statements to police have changed 4 times, the only aspect of her complex personality remaining consistent being her extraordinary envy of her friend and roommate Meredith. That is written by the author of the article, not by Patrick. So Amanda tried hard but was less popular. And these are Patrick's words. That she tried but wasn't as popular as Meredith. I didn't realize it at the time, but now I see that she was jealous. She wanted to be the queen bee. As the weeks passed, it became clear to me that she wasn't. She hated anyone stealing her limelight, and that included Meredith. And that really reminds me of Scammy. Sorry for licking my fingers. I know that's kind of gross, but you're not going to be touching the pages, so it's okay. All right. So he's talking about how he had hired Amanda, and I'm skipping some parts, so the article picks up here with the following day. Patrick employed Amanda to collect glasses for 2 shifts a week from 10 p.m. to 3 a.m. But he soon realized she was more interested in making herself available to his male customers than making herself useful at the bar. Every time I looked around, she was flirting with a different guy, he says. I'd tell her off and she'd smile sweetly and apologize and be back at it within 5 minutes. She'd put her mouth so close to her conquest, it looked like they were kissing. She was always causing trouble. Even my girlfriend thought she was strange. Whenever she met her, she'd death stare her and turn her nose up. I don't think she was jealous. She never came on to me. She just felt so threatened by other women. It was a couple of weeks before Patrick met Raffaella Solicio, a doctor's son from southern Italy, when he came into La Chic. This is interesting. He was with a couple of friends drinking rum and pear juice. So he believes that this is how Amanda met the guy that she was banging for 6 whole days or nights when this happened to Meredith Kircher. And she has this story about how they were like at a classical music orchestra thing, and then they sat next to each other, and then there was just love at first sight, blah, blah, blah. Okay, but so this is what Patrick says. He was with a couple of friends drinking rum and pear juice. After about 4 rounds, I spotted Amanda flirting with him. Needless to say, I wasn't surprised. And then he says he just couldn't believe that she was like 2-timing with her American boyfriend, because she was speaking about her American boyfriend all the time. And then Patrick says he saw Meredith at a party that he threw at his club for his employees a couple of days later. She made everyone 2 rounds of her special mojitos. She was sparkly and cheery and lifted everyone's spirits. I bumped into her again in town soon after. I asked her if she wanted to have a spell behind the bar when I next had a female DJ playing as kind of a ladies' night. She jumped at the chance, although she'd stopped coming into the Chic, and I heard she wasn't hanging around Amanda much either. I wasn't surprised. The two couldn't have been more different. Amanda, meanwhile, was becoming increasingly erratic. Her mood started swinging from docile and lazy to hyperactive and flighty. I knew she smoked cannabis, and it was impossible to predict which one she'd be. I told her I'd asked Meredith to come work for me, and her face dropped, and there was a big silence. Then she said, "Fine," and strooped off. I knew then she was extremely jealous of Meredith. She obviously thought she was invading her territory. By Tuesday, October 30th, his patience had ran out. He told Amanda she could carry on handing out club flyers, but could no longer work in the bar. She looked at me blankly and walked away, he says. The club was busy and I didn't see her again that evening. The next day, Amanda attended a Halloween party at the club, knocking back free red wine. She was all over two American boys, Patrick says. There was no sign of solicito, and I didn't see her leave. At 3 a.m., he locked up and went on to another club where he bumped into Meredith. I mentioned the idea of her working for me again, he says. She smiled sweetly and said she couldn't wait, and she'd bring all of her friends back to my club for me. That was the last he heard of either girl until 6 p.m. on Saturday, November 3rd, when a couple of friends walked into his club. They asked me if I'd heard that Amanda's English friend had been red-rumped. When they said she was the dark-skinned girl, my heart stopped. And then he called Amanda, who quietly confirmed that Meredith was not alive. He says, I expected her to be distraught, hysterical, and sobbing. He said, surely just because they'd grown apart didn't mean she wouldn't care. But instead, she sounded weird. Her tone was completely flat, and she sounded calm and unaffected. She said she was talking to the police and hung up. I was shaken and sick with sadness. Things like this just didn't happen in Perugia. So that flat affect and the calm and unaffected is, that could be that somebody's just in shock or something. But that's kind of consistent with all of these people that I mentioned by name a few minutes ago, is that their demeanor is just off from jump. Like they really don't have any emotions about the situation. They are very removed and they're not coming at it with what you would find authentic and genuine and emotions and just, disbelief and sorrow and regret. No conscience. Exactly, Annie. I'm so glad you're here. Just you and me, just a small party and maybe a loitering troll I do not know. And yeah. Okay, everyone became tense and suspicious. Everyone except Amanda, who'd gone into a kind of autopilot mode. I saw her a couple of times and all she talked about was the police and how stressful the ordeal was for her. At 6:30 a.m. on Tuesday, November 6th, the bell to his fourth floor flat in the town buzzed insistently, and a woman's voice outside demanded he opened the door. He had barely had time to do so when the woman, assisted by Patrick estimates 15 to 20 others, barged their way in. They were wearing normal clothes and carrying guns, he says. I thought it must be some sort of armed gang about to kill me. I was terrified. They hit me over the head and yelled, "Dirty Black." They put handcuffs on me and shoved me out the door as Alessandra pulled David away, screaming. So Alessandra was his girlfriend. I was incorrect. I thought they were married. And David was their child, who I think was about 2 at the time. He was greeted outside by a convoy of 7 police cars, sirens blazing, and driven to Perugia's police station, where he was subjected to a 10-hour interrogation. I was questioned by 5 men and women, some of whom punched and kicked me, he claims. They forced me on my knees against the wall and said I should be in America where I would be given the electric chair for my crime. All they kept saying was, "You did it, you did it." I didn't know what I'd done. I was scared and humiliated. Then, after a couple of hours, one of them suggested they show me a picture of the deceased girl to get me to confess. It might sound naive, but it was only then that I made the connection between Meredith's passing and my arrest. Stunned, I said, "You think I unalived Meredith?" A statement from Amanda saying that on the night of November 1st, he had persuaded her to take him back to the house she shared with Meredith and two others. She says, so he had then, she claimed, gone into Meredith's room and AR'd her before unaliving her while she sat and listened to the screams from the kitchen. She said he was motivated by revenge after Meredith had rejected him. Okay. So she's putting herself there at the scene of the crime. She says that she's sitting in the kitchen listening to the screams. And then she comes up with his motive, like she knows something. And this is the thing about the lies, is that they don't just come out of nowhere. There's always some seed of truth, right? So saying that he was motivated by revenge after Meredith had rejected him is weird, because she was rejected by Patrick in the workplace. She was also rejected by the young man that lived downstairs that Meredith was dating. And I don't like to talk about him too much, because I mean, the poor man already had to go through all of this. I'll just say his name is Giacomo. Very handsome young man. And so Amanda was rejected by Giacomo. She was rejected by Patrick. I'm thinking she might have been rejected by Rafaela too, if he was trying to study and he didn't want to go out to party on Halloween or the day after Halloween. But I even wonder, this is pure speculation on my part, I even wonder if she might have had designs on Meredith and felt rejected by her. It's a possibility. You never know. So Patrick goes on to say, I have 7 sisters and there's no way I could even imagine hurting a woman. And sorry, man, papers are so hard to handle, right? We're so used to everything being electronic these days. So am I in jigsaw puzzle. Are you doing a jigsaw puzzle? I love puzzles. We've got one going in my house right now too. Patrick says he's never even been to their house. He was speaking to her and said that he was so sorry about Meredith. He says Amanda seemed completely normal, but she had a nasty look in her eye and simply said, I had no idea what it was like to be probed by the police for hours on end. Well, thanks to her, I know exactly what she's going through now, and I'll never forgive her. So I thought that was really cool to hear his words, because all we hear is Amanda Knox's words. Our mainstream media really likes to bolster her and sell her story, I think, because it has all the appeal of what sells newspapers, basically, and what gets your ratings up, basically. And it's always a challenge to think that a young female could do something that violent. It's pretty unthinkable, pretty unspeakable, but I do believe that that's exactly what happened here. Let me see. I've got a few notes, a couple of notebooks here. You know me, I've always got too many notebooks. I was trying to keep it down to a dull roar or two, so I only have two, I think. Um, and yeah. So, Annie, are you doing the jigsaw puzzle? So basically, Knox was reconvicted for the slander, and I don't think she has another possibility to appeal it, but who knows? It seems like there's been a lot done on her case that has set precedents and has broken precedents. So it's hard to say, I mean, in any case, it's you just never know how things will go. I mean, you never know what a jury's going to decide. You never know what a judge is going to decide. Um, you never know when there'll be exceptions or things will be overturned. So it's hard to say. The fact that she was convicted twice and that it was overturned on technicalities twice, I think I've gotten more clarity that it was, as one person said in my chat a few weeks ago, very directly, to try to simplify. Basically, the DNA that she was convicted on was corrupted, is essentially the bottom line. But they still used DNA to convict Rudy Goudet. And so, if the DNA was corrupted, how could that be? And then all of the case still stands in the Italian court system, that even though only one person was convicted, that they knew that there were multiple assailants, and that Amanda's story had changed many times. We get that with a lot of these liars that I had listed off, like NK and Chris Watts. Once a person's story changes one time, you know that they lied, and then you can't trust anything that they say. Yes, doing the puzzle. We moved closer to US. My Medicare is Vegas, San Felipe, Baja California, 2 hours from Cali. Quiet puzzle time, out of bed, on new med. Oh, thanks for sharing, Annie. And thanks for being here. And that's cool. You can do your puzzle and listen at the same time. Hopefully, I do have something interesting to say, despite what that unruly Evans person said. Oh no! Oh no, somebody doesn't like me. I've said this again and again, and I think it's so important for all of us. Like, it's nice to have people like you, obviously, um, but it's people that require other people's approval are very broken people and very at risk for basically hurting themselves and hurting other people. And I think that it's safe to say that somebody like Amanda Knox really relied on getting people's attention and getting people's positive attention. And then if she didn't, she would lash out. You do just upright and not typing much. I totally understand. Yeah, it's nice to just not type and just to relax and listen. So I'll try to get into a flow. Um, and yeah, to not be dependent on people's approval is key. I mean, it's a great feeling when somebody likes you, and it's also a great feeling to not need people to like you and to know that it's okay if somebody doesn't like you. It's not a big deal. I mean, different strokes for different folks. So, I wanted to jump over into the Idaho 4 case for a minute, because something that has not been talked about for a long time, at least not in any of the YouTube that I've caught recently. Granted, I don't watch a lot of the Idaho 4 stuff because I think it's just a bunch of um, rehash, basically. There's not much meaningful in what I've seen for, I don't know, the last year. I mean, it's a very fascinating case and there's a lot to it, but I mean, hopefully truth will come out, but who knows? I mean, it's such a dumpster fire over there in Moscow, right? Oh, and then we've got that little 2-year-old from Pullman that's missing. You guys are aware the 2-year-old's mother is, um, I think, from Pullman. The dad is from Moscow, Idaho. The dad's girlfriend is from Pullman, Washington. She just graduated college. She was about to go to Italy, as a matter of fact, with her mother from the Seattle airport when she went into the bathroom, left her purse and cell phone, and never came back. And then they found her on the surveillance cameras leaving the airport and getting on the public transportation and going into Seattle. And then the suspicion is that he met up with her, he has the child, and that the three of them ran off to Mexico. And it is just so scary. I mean, hopefully nobody gets hurt, but when people are doing that kind of illegal activity, because he's broken the law with the custody agreement, and you're not allowed to leave the state with your child when you're in a custody situation like that, let alone leave the country. I just hope nobody gets hurt. I don't know if there's been an update today. Have you watched any Karen Reed trial? Oh my God, circus attorney channels are going nuts. I can't handle the Karen Reed trial, Annie Ruler. I mean, I learned a little bit about it before it went to trial, and it initially it fascinated me because of all the weirdness and what sounded like potentially she was being framed, but I don't follow it and I have no idea. I mean, I've heard a little bit of this, that, and the other. um it's it's just bizarre, isn't it? Like you said, it's an absolute circus. And yeah, it's really sad to me when people try to use that wrongful conviction, you know, basically get out of jail free card. And I don't know if that's what Karen Reed is doing. If I don't know if she's been convicted. It doesn't seem to me that the trial's over yet, but it looks like it's going that direction. Like I've said again and again, if law enforcement likes you for a crime and you're getting railroaded, you pretty much don't have a chance, because all of their documentation is considered fact, even if it's fiction. So it's really hard to undo that type of thing. I should look for a pic of this family coming over border. Yeah, the man is brown haired, dark hair, black hair maybe, dark brown. Very good looking couple. People are referring to them as Barbie and Ken. She is blonde, perfect Barbie doll looking. And then the little girl, I think, is about 2, and she's absolutely precious and adorable, of course. um, and it's just tragic. So the boyfriend and the girlfriend, I think they're engaged. They're only 21 years old. She just graduated college. I mean, how sad for her mother. I don't know if there were other family members at the airport too, but what I do know is that her and her mom were planning this trip to Italy for a graduation celebration. And how weird would that be to have your family member go to the bathroom at the airport and then not know what happened to them? So it's very tragic. I've seen a few JLR investigates about it. He's covering it. I want to say True Crime Rocket Science might have done one on that case. I've seen a few. And I just am praying for the safety of these people. It just seems like a very high risk situation. Karen Reed, only a piece of taillight not reconstructed. Trail light or tail light on the car is the piece she lost when she hit his car leaving early AM looking for John. Clear on videos, except the video's missing. And see, that's what police do when they conveniently delete video. They conveniently misplace video. They conveniently say, oh, it was malfunctioning that day. There was a glitch in the system. Yeah, I know a little bit about what you're talking about. I've seen the video footage of her like backing her car into her taillight, hitting someone else's car, and it looks like that's where her taillight got busted. And then I know that John was run over and that he was in front of the friend's house, and that there's just literally a bloody mess. I mean, the dog and this, that, and the other. I mean, it's really bizarre. And yeah, it seems, from what little I know, it seems like she is being framed, but I don't know that much about it, so I should reserve my opinion. But I just know that can happen. And so looking at the bigger picture, it's just awful that can happen, that people can get um, sentenced, can get a life sentence when they're just being scapegoated. And what can you do? I mean, Dean Gillespie, I talk about him a lot because he's from Ohio, and he won a $45 million judgment from the state of Ohio for the wrongful conviction. And you guys have heard me talk about it before. It was only in November of 2022 that he was finally awarded the $45 million. The crimes happened in the late 80s. He was convicted, I think, somewhere around 1992, even though they had solid evidence that he didn't do it. That evidence was lost and destroyed. And like, he literally had receipts that proved that he was out of state when the crimes happened. And then the detective that pinned it on him has never been investigated. The investigation has never been investigated, even though he was sentenced to probably a life sentence. It was 3 different victims of SA, and aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. It was 2 separate incidences. So 2 of the victims were in the same incidents. And then the other one was completely separate. So 2 different jurisdictions too. But anyway, in the end, he served like 23 years in prison, roughly. And he was only about that old when he was sentenced. So then he was released roughly around the age of 46, had served half of his life and the majority of his adult life in prison. And then it took him another 11 years. That, he got out because it was overturned. And then it took him 11 years to win the judgment. So he was only sprung because it was overturned. And I want to say he spent an entire year behind bars, even after his case with the Innocence Project. I think it was the Innocence Project of Cincinnati that worked his case. And he was truly innocent. And he, is my age, and he's spent almost his entire adult life dealing with this. And he seems like such a great guy. Like, the first thing he said when he was released, or actually this was when he was awarded the 45 million, is he said how devastated he was for the victims, that they were lied to. They were told that the person who harmed them, who, terrorized them and traumatized them, they were told that that person was behind bars, when that person has never been put behind bars. And so they were lied to, and they were told that they were safe when they weren't. And that was his biggest concern. So, a lot of accolades for Dean Gillespie. Also, I love to sing his praise because he's an artist, and I would love to get one of his sculptures. I think he does these like miniature sculptures of like trailers and stuff like that, like camping trailers. I've seen pictures, and I would like to support him as an artist. And as you guys know, I love miniature stuff. So if I get something, I'll show it to you in my set. Um, anyway, let's see. Annie says 227 Googling how long to die in cold. So who Googled it? Was it her that Googled it, or was it some of the other people that Googled it? Crime and Crochet. Hello, my old friend. So lovely to see you. How are you? You're in Australia, aren't you? I think it's been so long. I know you have an accent, right? Replace pinned message. Thanks for coming in. That's lovely to see you. Um, and Annie Ruler says the wife of one of the alleged conspiracy peeps. So a wife of one of the law enforcement, because wasn't like all of the frenemies, they were all in law enforcement, right? And Crime and Crochet says I am in the UK. Okay, cool. Awesome. So, what do you think about Kate Middleton, Crime and Crochet? Do you think she has cancer, or do you think that there's some funky business going on? Jen, she was actually the ringleader, hosted the meetings. LOL. Weird. Weird, weird, weird. Um, oh, so the thing about the Idaho case, I never did get to my point, did I? I'm so glad that I have notes here to remind me. Nobody's talked about Buddy the dog. Remember Buddy the dog that was not only skinned but filleted? That cute little, like, was it an Australian Shepherd, 13 years old, and just like a couple of miles down the road from where this happened with the Idaho 4 slaying. That situation with the dog, I want to say it was like maybe 2 weeks before. Do you guys remember? Um, let's see. And Crime and Crochet says, I have many questions about Kate. Some wonder if, okay, wait a second. Annie Ruler. Talking Idaho, we're talking Kate Middleton. Some wondered if Kay and brother left soon after Buddy the dog. Oh, Kay and brother left soon after Buddy the dog. Who Kay? Annie Ruler. There's a lot of K's in this story, the Idaho. So when you say Kay and brother, the first one that comes to my mind is like Kyle and Brent, or Brett Payne. Oh, Kaylee. Keily and her brother left soon after Buddy the dog. I don't follow. I don't follow like why they would have left soon after the dog, if they even knew about the dog. I mean, I know some people would have known about the dog, but I doubt it was like big news. Maybe it was. I don't know. There's a whole conspiracy rabbit hole to go down surrounding Miss Middleton, in my humble opinion. Yeah, and we don't want to go down conspiracy rabbit holes, but I'm personally very concerned about her safety. I'm concerned about whether she's even alive at this point. Um, and I'm concerned about the children, the 3 kids. I mean, Harry and William, I looked it up last week. They were 12 and 15 when their mother was killed in that terrible car crash. And it's always been my opinion that that was a hit, basically. And if it was a hit from the royal family and they did that to those boys' mother, then what wouldn't they do? And I always assumed that that was why Harry left the country with Meghan, was to keep her alive, to protect her. That it seems like he has a better perspective on the wicked corruption of that system. And it seems that William doesn't really give a flying F, that he's just happy to have a silver spoon in his mouth. Like father, like son, right? Keily and her brother both left. They play that down about the brother leaving school. Entire school knew about dog and coyotes. Okay, because yeah, I knew like the coyotes were getting left on people's doorsteps, especially like the frat houses, right? For like a couple of years. Wasn't that like a routine thing for a long time? Um, exactly. Look what happened to Diana. I know. I know. And then when they came out with this message from Kate a couple of days ago, that was so freaking bizarre to me. It might have even just been yesterday, but it was just basically, oh, I'm sorry that I'm not able to be there for you folks. And hopefully I will be again someday. And it's like, yeah, if you have a serious illness, you don't need to apologize. Like, that's ludicrous. It's absolutely ludicrous. To me, it smacks of more of the fake phony, like the videotape of her on the park bench, like the chop shopped family photo from Mother's Day and all the other shenanigans. I don't think there's been a sighting of her since at least December 28th. Annie, wasn't it you that was saying a few days ago that you thought maybe there wasn't a sighting of her for like the last 18 months? And we are at we're past 6 months now, right? We would have just passed 6 months a couple weeks ago. Absolutely crazy. So let's, where did I put my notes? The ones that I'm looking for, of course, I have it written on the back of a little bank envelope, right? There we go. So should we talk about JP a little bit and Micah? Because I was surprised. I knew that JP had gone to Micah's workplace and offended all of her coworkers, first of all, by coming in there, because he was not allowed to go in there with the protection order that Micah had when she was there. So all of the employees knew that if he ever came in when she was working, that they needed to call the police and have him arrested. But I knew that he'd gone there and spoken with them and sat at the bar and, was telling his tall tales about her and his allegations of her mental health. And what I didn't know is that it was just a couple hours after the sermon where he announced her passing away so oddly in the last 90 seconds of his second sermon. That was the morning after she expired. So after church, a couple hours later, he goes to where she works to sit at the bar and to try to tell anybody who would listen his narrative. And none of those people trust him or believe him. They all think he is full of it. They all trusted Micah and what she was saying. And, they say that she was very open about it, but that she didn't talk about it a lot, that she was real focused on her job when she was there. It looks like a wonderful restaurant, like really, really nice bar and grill. Of course, Jailer went there, boots on the ground, and bless him for doing that. Like, he was in there talking to the employees, like having conversations with the people that had conversations with JP and with people who knew Micah well. And, man, that JLR, he's a wild card, isn't he? He's quite a character, but it seems like he really cares and he really gets into these cases. And I really appreciate that. I don't know how he does it. I would think that it's exhausting, but he's just on it, boots on the ground constantly and covering so many cases. So I want to give a big shout out to him and to some of the other channels that I've been watching lately, like True Crime Rocket Science and that, is it Morali? I'm not sure if that's how you say his name, but I'll put links to all three of their stuff in my description. And I do want to talk about Kylie's case, and I want to put a link to Shan's last video. She did a live a couple of nights ago. I caught the very tail end of it and then went on to Replay Crew for the beginning. And I'm so glad that I did, because she's, of course, hitting some really good points. And her and Craney were at it again. And I'm trying to remember. I don't know if I have it in my notebooks that are right in front of me. I think it might be a different notebook, but let me see. Because I even had like the timestamp. Yeah, here it is. It's the 1 hour 23-minute timestamp in Shan's last video that I will put in the description. I'll put a link to it. The last live. This was the point that they started making at about that 1 hour 23-minute mark, was talking. You guys, are you ready? Are you sitting down? Talking about a trailer that was for sale on Kylie Rodney's missing persons flyer page. There was a trailer for sale on the missing persons flyer page. How did we miss that? I mean, I think I missed that. I don't know if it's one of those things that people focused on and then forgot about, but that's crazy. And like, what kind of trailer is it? And is that code for something? It makes me think of this episode of Longmire. For anybody who's seen that television show Longmire, that's about a sheriff in Montana who has to cover like 5,000 square miles of a jurisdiction, like by himself. And one of the episodes, these terrible, soulless scumbags abduct a native girl who's 16 years old, and they're turning her out in the trailer, moving it from location to location, and people are like signing up to, pardon my trigger warning and like how to put it in plain English, people that are signing up to be customers is one way of saying it. It's disgusting, but to get a piece of the action. And so they have like a dozen people a day signed up to pay for her assault, basically to assault her. And then they have her in this trailer, and they keep moving the trailer, and the Sheriff Longmire is trying to find them, and it's like a shell game. But we all know with Kylie Rodney that there was that whole thing with a trailer slip at Boca, and that there was a ranger who was sending those emails that they were completely creeped out about what was going on in trailer slip number 6 or number 9. I'm not sure. If you remember which number it was, please put it in chat. But those emails, I've read the email thread. It's been a while, but it seemed very suspicious. And then for a trailer to go onto a missing persons flyer, digital flyer, is insane. Like, I don't know if it was in the comment section or something. It's in Shan's video. But it sounds to me like code for something. And, I was just talking about that. Shan was just talking about that in her last live before that. Her and Craney were reading a description that Lindsay had written of trying to basically advertise for the Lost Trail Lodge. And it seemed like she was speaking in code, like she was trying to let people know that this was the kind of place where they could get like alternative types of things that I just don't even want to mention. But it was really odd and really creepy, and definitely seemed like a very real possibility that there was this code that they were talking in. So WTF. And Yeah. What about the freaking hat? Do you guys remember the navy blue baseball cap that was like found in the dirt? Like, was it Check It TV or somebody like that? Somebody untrustworthy who had their little video camera and was out there at the Prosser Creek Reservoir shore, and they were like, "Oh, look, a hat." And they picked it up. They have it on their video camera of them picking it up and dusting it off. And they're like, could it be Kylie's? And it's just really weird. Like, it's a big area. I'm sure lots of people lose lots of hats. Why would you think that that's her hat? And I don't know. Just these things. I remember them, and then I'm like, what about that? So creepy. Um, let's see. An expert whomever said 18 months. I'm not sure what you're referring to, Annie, about the 18 months. I'm lost. What was that? Just about 9 minutes ago. And Crystal, hello, says she did it. Are you talking about Crystal? Which case are you referring to? Karen Reed or a different one? Okay, trailer like Pizzagate code words, exactly. Like Tony Dodge guy seemed run semi-trailers of people, it appeared. Annie Ruler says, regarding last time Princess K was seen. Thank you. An expert said it was 18 months. Wow. Is that like that Conchella Spanish journalist that said that? That's crazy. But yeah, it seems pretty apparent that something is going on, like what was going on with Charles and Camilla for so long has been going on with William and Rose Hanbury. I mean, it seems like it. Of course, I don't know. But yeah, Crystal, if you want to say who she did it, are you referring to Karen Reed or are you referring to something else? I do not know. If I see it again, I will write it down. Yeah, that's always great to try to get accuracy, right? So, what about in the Idaho 4 case? The whole thing with Dimitri and Emma Bailey, and then the Moyers, Maddie Moyer and her brother. They were the ones that lived in the house right behind 1122 King Road, right? Not Emily. Emily was the one who was dating Hunter Johnson. And in my last video, somebody was saying that Emily was creeping into Xana's room, was why Xana asked her dad to change the lock on her door. I mean, that's super creepy to have anybody creeping into anybody's room, but especially if it was Hunter Johnson's girlfriend, because we all know that Hunter Johnson was one of the people that came over that were summoned. Like, just that right there, that the police chief said, they summoned some friends before they called 911. Like, give me a break. Delaying a 911 call. And sure, he can try to pretend that they didn't know that anybody's life was lost, because it is a criminal act to delay notifying authorities when a life is lost. It's just the way it is. However the person's life is lost, you're supposed to call 911 immediately. And if you don't, you better have a good reason, like, that you were frozen shock phase or something, for crying out loud, right? That's a good reason. And that you were too busy summoning friends that you forgot to call 911, that it was too complicated, you couldn't remember the number. Or that's like what Amanda Knox said. that she wasn't even sure the number that you call in Italy for 911, which is something like 999. It's really complicated. Being from another country, she didn't know the digits. And it's not like she could have asked Rafaela or anybody. It's not like she could have called someone and said, hey, how do I call emergency here? Crazy, crazy person. Ugh, so gross. Okay. Annie says her brother allegedly drove the car in Eugene, Oregon. He was there for the axe competition and the Banfield boys and had been at Matt's house watching a fight. Yeah. That car in Eugene, Oregon is the car in Eugene, Oregon is kind of like the hat, or maybe more like the bodysuit, the black bodysuit that was found. And then they're like, oh no, that's a black tank top. It has nothing to do with anything. The car in Eugene, Oregon was thought to be connected. And then it was like, oh no, it's not connected at all. And then it's like, oh, well, there's that weird coincidence that it happens to be not only the same make and model of the car that they were looking for, but that it was wrecked and that the person that wrecked it was in it. I mean, all of that is very suspicious. They weren't injured. They were just like taking a nap or something. And then that car was registered to the man who owned the 1122 King Road residence. And he lives in the town in Colorado that coincidentally was where Brian Koberger's license plate was read when the feds lost track of him from his apartment in Pullman. And they lost track of him for 13 hours. And then I think the name of the town is Loma, isn't it? Loma, Colorado. And it's this small town of like maybe 2,000 people, a really small town. So why why would they say that Loma is where the license plate reader caught his car? Like none of the other license plate readers for 13 hours would have caught his license plate. And then like there's just too many crazy bizarre coincidences. Like that can't be a coincidence. Like why was he even driving through Loma, Colorado? Why Dan Estes, that's the guy's name. Why does Dan Estes own the house where it happened, and he owns a car exactly like the one that they're looking for that's wrecked, that then they tried to pretend had no connection to anything? Even, I mean, if that was just bizarre coincidences, why not just say, well, how bizarre is this coincidence that car happens to be registered to Dan Estes, who happens to own the house where this happened? And it just so happens that he donated the house to the university. So then the president of the university, Coomer Scott Green, was in charge of the house. That it just so happens that Coomer Scott Green's daddy owned it when he was a little kid. Huh. What a coincidence. I mean, come on, people. Like, that's where you think this has got to be some kind of bizarre psyops. All the stuff with the police department, all the stuff with the military. Because, Kopaka, Payne, and Payne's brother were all elite parachute troopers. They have like a special name. I'm forgetting what it is. If you remember, paratroopers. They were all elite paratroopers in the United States Army. So Kopaka served 5 years. He graduated high school the same year as Kyle Payne, Brett Payne's older brother. I forget. It's been a while. I want to say they graduated in around 2007. And I think Brett Payne, he was just a year or two younger. But then Kyle went to college at the University of Idaho before he served active duty in the military and was deployed to Afghanistan, whereas Kopaka went straight to the military at 19, straight out of high school, and served 5 years and did a handful of tours of duty in Afghanistan. So they were both paratroopers in the military, and their timing overlapped the last several months, maybe the last year at the most, of Kopaka's service would have been the first year that Kyle Payne was serving. But they were in different brigades. And then Brett Payne went to the University of Idaho too. He got his bachelor's degree, then a master's degree, and then he too served active duty in the military and was in the same brigade as Kopaka, I think 82nd Brigade, but they were there at different times. And then he'd only been in the Moscow PD for maybe around 2 years when he was assigned to be the lead detective of this case. And now it's, it's a year and a half later, he has not been in that police department for more than 4 years, but I think currently he's saying that he's been in that police department for 6 years. I think he was I think he might have done, he was a military police person, possibly, but he has said specifically that he served in the Moscow PD for 6 years, and he has not. So that kind of thing is effed up. Like, that's where, these people are lying. And if they're not lying, if they're just making mistakes, they still need to address it and say, oh, wait, no, I was mistaken. I said 6, I meant 4. But nobody's doing that. They're pretending that it's all good. Matt Moyer, thank you, Annie Ruler, Matt's house. So the Moyers lived right behind 1122 King Road, correct? He was homeless squatter sitting in unlocked wrecked car. Matt Moyer drove it there. Oh my goodness, Annie, you're kidding me. Okay, when does the FBI tail a guy because he has no front plate? Well, and I thought you were going to say, when does the FBI lose track of a crazy homicidal maniac because he turned left when they expected him to turn right, or he turned right when they expected him to turn left? Like, give me a break. That was so stupid. I mean, just crazy, bizarre. And it's also tangled. Payne was promoted to detective after being given the biggest M case. Oh, so now he's Detective Payne, because he'd only been in the department for 2 years and he was already a corporal. And I could see giving somebody with the military experience a promotion quickly like that. But man, did he seem like, I was going to say, the biggest loser, the littlest biggest loser in giving his testimony in court. What was that, a week or so ago? I mean, what a weasel. What a weirdo. I mean, just odd. There's so much that's so odd about the case. And then just to bring up Judge and Ann Taylor both accidentally saying Kopaka's name or Kopak's name when they were referring to BK, the defendant, the criminal defendant, Brian Kohberger. Like, what's his name doing in their brains or in their mouths? Kopaka's. Like, if he really has nothing to do with anything, that makes you think that maybe he does have something to do with something, doesn't it? Oh, I'm thinking it's a good time to wrap up. I'm just noticing we're already at 1 hour and 15, and I'm just so happy to be coming on a live. I was expecting to see you guys on Friday, and then Friday, all kinds of stuff happened. I'm forgetting what it was now, but it was just like family commitments that took precedence. So I apologize for that. So then I was going to try to get on a live yesterday. It didn't happen. And then I was going to try today, and it almost didn't happen, but here we are tonight. I am going to try my best to get on a live with you guys every day this week. I'm shooting for Monday through Friday, and, as early in the day as I can do it. So if you're interested, turn on your notification bell. Please make sure you're still subscribed. Share my video on my channel. If you think you know somebody who'd like this boring, non-substantial information, to quote our little troll there earlier. And don't forget to hit your creepy like button thumb. Definitely makes you stroke your chin. This has been lovely. Puzzle almost done. Dinner done. Aw, Annie. I know, I feel like you're my buddy. And same with you, Crime and Crochet. You're like the long lost friend. I haven't seen you in forever. I still love your Sammy video with the unicorn, like nobody's business. I'm going to put a link to that in the description here, because that thing needs to go viral. People need to pay attention to the craziness that's coming out of the rainbow unicorn's mouth that is scammy, right? Howdy across the pond. All right, you guys, I'm going to say peace out, love and light. Take really good care of yourselves. I think I'm going to put the video that I just made right before doing this. I just made a video of me reading the instructions to my masterclass that just keeps getting more and more refined. So I think I'm going to go ahead and upload that onto my members only. And so it doesn't have anybody doing the yoga. It's just the verbal instructions, but I'm going to try to videotape the more polished, finished product and put that on the members only too, for anybody that's interested. If you're interested in doing the yoga routine, I would say just go to the most recent yoga video that's still up. I haven't turned them all over to members only, and I probably won't turn every single one of them into members only, but I'll probably turn most of them into members only. So but I'll leave up the most recent one of the routine so that anybody who wants to try it can. It makes you feel great. I had to skip a couple of days doing it because I was just so busy with so much other stuff. It was ridiculous. And then I've done it today, and I did it yesterday, and it just makes you feel great. I mean, it's amazing. If I don't mind saying so myself, it's just really cool because it's the yin yoga. You're literally laying down almost the entire time. If you're not laying down, you're sitting down. None of it is standing up. So it's all really low key, and it's just very specific twists and stretches. Only do what feels comfortable. And to me, it doesn't feel like I'm doing much when I'm doing it. I mean, a few of the stretches I get really into and I really push as hard as I can. But even if I do it as lightly as I can, I still feel the effects of it, like the physical effects. And I can see a difference, you guys, like the toning and stuff. It's pretty amazing. And I just think it's really important for all of us to take care of ourselves. Life gets so stressful. And nobody else is going to take care of us, right? We have to take care of ourselves. I know, been busy elsewhere, but I'm back, LOL. So nice to see you guys. Thanks so much for joining me. And I'm going to sign off. So love and light. Take really good care of yourselves. Eat your protein, eat your fruits and your veggies, and just honor yourself. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to people around you, and take it easy. What else? I've got my hat on for state parks, which I was going to make a joke about because of all these horrible things that happen in these state parks. Yes, thank you, Crime and Crochet. Drink your water. I will. I'll take your order. So I try to have 2 containers of ice water with me at all times, whether I'm home or not at home. I try to have 2 containers of really good, pure ice water so that it tastes good. Because if it's not good water, I don't want to drink it. And if it's not ice water, I don't really want to drink it either. And I want to take advantage of every opportunity that I can to stay hydrated. So even though I try to always have two, sometimes I don't have any because I'll finish them both and then I'm like, where's my ice water? So I filled this up right before I started because I ran out when I was making my yoga video. So, yes, practice what you preach. I have to remind myself of these basic things all the time. That's why I remind you guys because I'll be preaching to you guys to remember to eat your produce. And then I'll be like, wait, have I eaten my produce today? I have, but the more the merrier. Anyway, love and light. See you on the next one. Have a great night, you guys. And thanks so much for watching. Take care.